Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Casuals MMA Podcast. You can join us most places podcasts are found, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartMedia, Podbean, and YouTube. And, of course, we are now part of the sports network, fanstreamsports.com. You can find us and download the app at fanstreamsports.com as well. We're part of a new South Florida Podcasting Network. You can find a ton of great apps on there. And remember to listen to the JP Show Live, which airs weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. On 8:20 a.m., 98.3 FM, and 96.7 FM. Welcome back, everybody. So this is going to be our first cadence for our new update podcast. This is just one of our shorter segments that we wanted to start so that way we can update everybody with the new fight announcements, any crazy news going around with the UFC, because if nothing else, the UFC has taken a page out of the NFL's book and makes sure that they are talked about year-round and consistently. They seem to always have some kind of crazy news. But once again, joined by my co-host, Sean. What's up? How you doing?
Doing good, man. Big news day.
Yes,
big. We picked a good day to do this.
Absolutely. And then over to my other main man, Dan. Welcome back.
What up? I'm excited. Got 8 cards coming up. I'm excited to go through them, and I'm excited actually for the fights now that I started looking at them this afternoon.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, boys. Yeah, to what you guys alluded to, there is a ton of news going on right now. Let's start with the hot topic right now, which is, of course, UFC fighter pay. Reason being is we have a lot of premier names sitting out and or semi-retiring or full retiring. In Conor McGregor's case, I think he's going for a three-peat now on his retirement. Boys, what's your thoughts?
Same shit, different day, man. This happens every year. It's kind of coming in a bulk this time, but I think it's just because of everything that's going on in the world right now, but it'll get resolved.
Yeah, I think for me, this is his just kind of tactic on calling those or getting those big fights. I mean, I know he called it before that he's not going to be one of those fill-in spots, but if Khabib and Gaethje don't go, I'm hoping that he does fill that in and you know, suck up his pride and put on a show for the fans. But I think he's full of shit.
Who in that one was talking about potentially sitting out?
I mean, just for me, I think it just may possibly happen with the whole Khabib thing and his dad coming off Ramadan. You know, is he going to be ready and ready to go in September, as they say they want it to be?
His manager
haven't heard any.
He's ready to go.
Yeah,
I think his dad's doing good.
Okay, that's what you heard from Ali.
So, yeah, I think his dad's recovering. He's not quite there yet, but
yeah, he's doing better.
He's trending upward.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I think the only reason that I was saying that is, you know, to see Justin Gaethje coming out and trying to light a little fire under Conor's ass, saying he'll knock him out. I'm just maybe possibly calling a fluke on that fight between Khabib and Gaethje.
A fluke, how?
Just in the sense that it may not happen. You know, if Gaethje's now talking shit about Conor, I'll knock you out. I'll put you to sleep. You don't want it. You know, people talking about them having an interim title fight before going to Khabib. You know, it could happen.
Well, Dan, I mean, Conor McGregor's retired. He can't come out of retirement. That's impossible. Yeah, but I mean, going back to the fighter pay, I think that this is a pretty significant time right now because we're seeing a lot of profile names. The UFC has a star problem right now because John Jones is semi-retired. Conor McGregor is, again, retired. Amanda Nunes says that she's going to sit out for at least the rest of the year and is talking about potentially just calling it quits, you know, because she has nothing else left to prove in MMA, which, quite honestly, I agree with her. There's no other good matchups other than rematches. So, I mean, certainly it's going to get resolved because this is the only way those guys make money. But
Masvidal, too. Don't forget Masvidal.
Well, I was going to bring up, yep. Well, yeah, Cejudo just retired. That was a great example, Dan. Thank you for bringing that up. I mean, Cejudo just retired after it seemed like he just rose into stardom, and then he just calls it quits. You know, he's done. He walks away. I think that this time, more than any previously, seems more significant just because of the name power and the number of fighters that are the profile fighters that are sitting out. I mean, and then you even got Jorge Masvidal, who's going after like the fighting out. He's going after everybody right now. You know, he's kind of taking a page out of Conor's book. It seems like, but everybody was, I guess, giving him crap because he just signed a new fight deal, and he's like, well, what else am I supposed to do? I have to fight here. That's the only way I make money, but it doesn't mean I'm not going to bitch and complain about it the whole way through. So
yeah, I mean, I think his argument is he's got a really good one, is that they don't want to pay him the same. They want to pay him less than what he did. He got to fight Nate, and he won that fight, and that only rose his popularity. So why would he take less money for a title fight, for a main event title fight?
Oh, yeah. No, I agree with him 100%. It's like John Jones apparently was only asking for $3 million to show against Francis Ngannou, which, hey, that to me, that's easy money.
If you market it, yeah, it's worth the money because people will buy that.
Especially, think about it this way. If you're at the Apex Center, right? If you're at the Apex Center, you're not paying for a venue at that point. Like, you're saving yourself some money. So,
and you're not paying employees to set up the cage, tear it down, all that stuff. Like, the infrastructure is already set. All you got to do is just show up. You just have to have, the communication team just get it going, just fire it up, let it rip.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. It feels a little bit more significant than previous attempts. It would be nice if we could get a collective bargaining agreement or some kind of players association together, but I feel like that's a long shot. But we'll see what happens. I think the UFC's in a tight spot right now, so we'll see what happens there. But moving on to other news and notes, we're finally going to get Fight Island, if you guys want to call it even an island. It looks more like a peninsula with two canals on either side, possibly even man-made. What are you guys' thoughts on? I think it's pronounced Yaz Island.
Yeah, it's a little disappointing that it's a part of the mainland. I guess you could say. I think everybody was hoping it'd just be out in the middle of nowhere, like out in the middle of the ocean. Like there's no you got to swim miles and miles and miles to the next land. But it is what it is. They found a place to get the international fights going, and they got a bunch of good fights lined up.
Oh, for sure. I think we have 4 events in a row. It's just funny to think about because I think when Dana White said, I went and bought an island and I'm building infrastructure on it, everybody's thinking of some kind of tropical paradise elsewhere, which that's not to say like they're in Abu Dhabi, which is a beautiful place, at least from what the pictures look like, at least, so Abu Dhabi is beautiful, but, everybody's thinking it's like the Bahamas style, like, island that they had purchased and they're building this infrastructure. Mind you, there's already got to be infrastructure there because I was reading online that they hosted on Yaz Island one of the Grand Prix. I think it was all the way back in 2011. It's like that's a touristy area. So
it would be smart to find a place that already has some infrastructure because to build it from the ground up would take a long time.
Yeah, that and getting fighters and employees and everybody else on and off the island. I mean, it definitely makes sense. I think it's just part of the disappointment and
it's just the way it was hyped up.
Yeah, the imagery it changes it. So, but
have either one of you been able to confirm if the octagon is actually going to be outside or is it going to be in a facility?
Dana said there will be a training octagon on the beach, but the actual one where they fight will be indoors, I believe.
Okay.
That'd be awesome if they did it outside.
So they'll have an actual octagon to train in for the week, on the beach.
Yeah, because I know I heard that some part of it will be outside. I didn't know if that was going to be the actual events will be held outside. No. I'm excited.
Hold on, I'm getting some crazy noises over here. All right, sorry about that. All right, anyways, so Fight Island, we're going to get into those fight cards because we got 4 in a row. So we have a month.
You got 4 in a 3-week span.
Yeah, exactly. So we got a month that we're going to be in Fight Island. That should be fun. And I think the good news. Baby. Oh, I love it. And I think the good news there is that they're all normal times for the U.S.
Yeah. Usually they accommodate the U.S., especially for pay-per-views. Fight nights, they kind of vary. I think if it's on big ESPN, a big network, they'll accommodate for U.S. times. But if it's a ESPN Plus card, I think that they just kind of go with what's best for the fighters.
Yeah, that's gonna be weird for them to fight. They got to be 8 hours ahead at least in Abu Dhabi.
I would think longer, maybe. Well,
it could be.
Okay, so the last time they were in Abu Dhabi is when Khabib fought Poirier, and I believe that pay-per-view started at 1:00 in the afternoon.
So
And
yeah,
I think that was even a little bit later for them, like a little bit, like 10 o'clock or whatever.
yeah. I was gonna
I
say
could be
because
wrong.
I know the UK is like 6 hours ahead of us on the eastern seaboard. So imagine going
Yeah, Abu
even
Dhabi's
further.
even further
That's
out there. So
exactly. So those guys are gonna be fighting late. I wonder what kind of element that's gonna add to the fights. But
those guys usually, as soon as they show up for fight week, they accommodate for their fight time, the time that they believe they'll be fighting at. They train at that time all week.
yeah, but you know what? Actually, now thinking about it, I guess the other thing is maybe you don't get accommodated like to transition your body, like you have to transition your body from the time zones. So if you're acclimated to the US time and you're going to be fighting US time even though it's later in Abu Dhabi, maybe you'll still
It's going to be early.
I don't know, it's going to be weird.
Fighting
Well, I know like
dawn.
when Henderson went to go fight for Bisping's belt over in the UK, he went over there a week early to accommodate the time. So he did 2 week prep.
Yeah, but you
to
got
get his body.
Yeah, but that's different because like when you're fighting on some of those other cards, you're still going to be fighting at 10 o'clock in the time zone you're in, whereas these guys are going to be fighting way later in the night.
I know. That's what I'm saying. That's why he went early to like he trained for 2 weeks at the time that he believed he was going to be fighting, whatever it was. Like I think he said 5 o'clock in the morning is when he was going to be fighting.
Okay.
So he was
'cause
training
the
at that
main card
time.
will be kicking off at 6 a.m.
Yeah. Okay. I got you. That makes sense. All right. Yeah. And then, so Fight Island's finally underway. Yaz Island. We're going to get into those here in a minute. Any other news and notes, guys, that you wanted to touch on?
Rachel Ostrovich just got busted for tainted supplement.
Ruh-roh. Did she really?
Yeah, an hour ago. Yep. 1 year suspension.
Ugh. Yikes.
Not like she's active anyway.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. So she's more active on social media than
Yeah.
anything else. So
That's all I got.
anything on your side, Dan?
No.
All right, cool, man. Guys, let's move into these fights. Sean, you want to move us into the first fight?
Yeah, kicking off Fight Island, UFC 251, July 11th. As a card stacked top to bottom, not overwhelming, but this is a top-heavy card. 3 title fights. The bantamweight title on the line between Peter Yan and Jose Aldo. Obviously, Suhedo vacated that title last week. Volkanovski is defending his featherweight title against Max Holloway in the rematch. And then in the main event, Kamaru Usman is defending his welterweight title against Gilbert Burns.
Yeah, that's.
And then,
I'm pumped. No, I was just gonna address some of those, man. I can't wait. That's gonna be a fire freaking card, and then you have the rematch with Jessica Andrade versus Rose. I mean, that's gonna be a solid freaking card. I can't wait for that one. I'll be interested to see how Max comes out after his lackluster performance in that first fight. He was kind of vocal about it. Like to him, he thought he was winning in that fight, and then when he went back and looked at it, he was like, "Oh crap, no, I lost that fight. Like I didn't do enough." So it'd be interesting to see how Max is going to come out. I can't wait to see how Peter Yan and Jose Aldo that fight looks. That's going to be insane. And then it's all to me, it's always interesting to see when you have former teammates fighting with Burns and Usman because they were teammates for a long time too. So I'm very interested to see how that one's going to go as well.
Yeah, I think Holloway, man, it's just one of those off nights for him. So it'll be interesting to see if he comes out, like the Max that we know.
Oh, for sure. And I mean, he's on so much that hey, you can afford a day off, a time off. Like you have or at least it's forgiving in hindsight, like right? Because he's always 100%.
Yeah, for sure.
So
Yeah.
But this is the big card for the year. Sorry, Dan, go ahead.
No, but I mean, a lot of talk about Holloway, but I've been listening to a lot of Alexander. I think he's going to come out with something to prove. I definitely think he's going to come out to put Holloway to sleep. I don't think he's just going to pepper him and work him, do a lot of leg kicks and things like that. I think he's coming out to take his head off on this fight. So I'm excited for the fight on both ends. But I would definitely keep our eyes open for Alexander Volkanovski coming in and doing some real business.
Yeah, well, we'll see about him because he said that when he fought Aldo and the first time he fought Max, and he was pretty lackluster himself in both those fights. So we'll see.
He looked great when he fought Chad Mendes. Like he made me like I was kind of watching him a little bit in that featherweight division, but then when he fought Chad, he had a great freaking fight. He got me pumped up, and then he had 2 lackluster fights against Jose and Max, and it was just kind of like,
Yeah, just kind of those fights where he did it enough.
Yeah, exactly. So that's exactly how we've always talked about that. You don't want to see a champ lose, like just like a very lackluster fight, especially Max Holloway of all people. So this
What's your thoughts on the Usman Burns fight? How do you think that's going to play out, Sean? Do you think it's going to be like a battle of, who can stay on the feet longer, who's going to maintain the ground? I mean, I feel like they
Well,
have pretty similar fight styles.
um, Usman will definitely out-grapple him because wrestling is just so dominant, especially over jiu-jitsu. Burns, he's got some pop, man, and his striking's come a long way, but we'll see because Usman's no joke with his hands either, man. People, they count him out, but he's got hands himself.
Yeah, he's very lumbering though, where I think Gilbert's a lot faster. The other thing too
Yeah.
here to consider is like I usually will say high level wrestling is going to beat out jiu-jitsu just because it negates it so well. But Gilbert Burns is, he's on another level with his jiu-jitsu. I mean, he's been a world champ multiple times in different tournaments, so he's on another level with jiu-jitsu. I think this is going to be a very interesting.
But one thing
fight.
we always know about teammates, man, there's always somebody that's usually getting the better of someone else, and one of those two knows it.
And I was going to point out too, this is the fastest fight we've ever seen Kamaru Usman sign up for. So if that's telling at all about his confidence going into the fight,
I think it's part of that, and I think it's part because I'm sorry, I lost train of thought there from my phone, but what was I saying? I'm sorry.
Talking about Usman and them being teammates fighting.
The quick turnaround as well.
Burns probably took a lot less money than the guys he was trying to fight before, like Colby and Jorge. So it was probably a lot easier for them to sign.
Yeah. Yeah, but I would think, though, too, that, if you're getting a cut of the pay-per-view, you're still considering Jorge Masvidal and stuff just because he's going to sell more pay-per-views, which you're going to get a bigger percentage.
Maybe he just got tired of all the bullshit going on and he just wanted to fight.
Yeah. No, it could be, but, I also feel like Kamaru's also been tough to sign previously, too. So, hey, you know what? I could be reading into nothing. Like I said, it just, it could be something, it could be nothing. So, that one, either way, I think it's going to be a great fight. So, yeah, and then let's go ahead. The only other thing I was going to say is obviously this is the big card. So if the UFC holds two big events every year, it's going to be 4th of July, which obviously this is a little bit after, but you can excuse them given the current circumstances that they've had to go through. And then the end of the year cards are the two biggest cards of the year. So that's why you see this one being stacked up here in the middle of the summer.
Yeah, but even ramping up to this fight, you still have that Dustin Poirier and Dan Hooker, Mike Perry and Mickey Gall coming up as well before the event right before this one. So a lot to look forward to, even leading up to the 4th of July. And actually, that card falls on my birthday, so I'm excited, which is going to be a stacked card.
Nice, man. Yeah, Mike Perry's something else right now, man. He was posting some Instagram pictures. He is cut up, man. He looks like he just got into a really bad fight. Over in that bare knuckle fight league. Like his knuckles are cut up. He has a huge cut on his forehead. I was like, what? But he says he's ready to fight next weekend. So he dropped his team. He's going to only have his girlfriend in his corner. I don't know what's going on with that guy right now. So it'll be interesting to see how he comes out. But Mickey Gall, I mean, he's a very inexperienced fighter. So we'll see how that fight goes. But Dan Hooker and Dustin Poirier, that's going to be fireworks.
Yes, I'm excited to see that. Hooker thinks he's going to put him out. I haven't really heard much from Dustin Poirier. I was actually surprised when I heard of the card because I haven't heard any chatter coming from Dustin around anything with all the shit Colby Covington was talking about him. Any of the stuff with Justin Gaethje and Ferguson. He's been very, very quiet. So I was surprised to see actually this gets signed off on.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dustin's game. I think where he fought last time in September. So it's been a while. I think he's ready to get back in. He's got a fun fight ahead of him, so I'm sure he's motivated. It's definitely a very winnable fight for both guys.
Yeah,
and this is the perfect step up in competition. The last time Dan Hooker stepped up in lightweight competition, he faced Barboza, who has a very similar fight style to him, which he lost. That fight. So it'll be nice to see him fighting Dustin Poirier to see if he's yet taken that next step in his training and is going to be with the elite in the lightweight division, because that is not a small feat to get up to that level. So, and then the only other thing while we're going backwards real quick, of course, this weekend we have Curtis Blades versus Alexander Volkov this weekend. I think Blades is just going to run through Volkov personally. He's big. He's athletic. He's going to be able to take him down. And if he wants to stand up and strike, I think he's going to be a lot faster than Volkov. I see him running through there. And then, of course, you have fireworks for a co-main event in the featherweight matchup with Josh Emmett versus Shane Burgos. That one should be fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this is a sneaky good card, man, because the other fight on here too is you have Bilal Muhammad versus Lyman Good. That'll be a good fight. So, a couple good fights this weekend for free on ESPN Plus, and then next weekend as well. All leading up to UFC 251, and then Sean, you want to go ahead and start looking forward to some of those other Fight Island fights?
That Wednesday after UFC 251, Calvin Kattar and Dan Ige will be the main event on UFC Fight Island, with the co-main event of Frankie Edgar making his bantamweight debut against Pedro Munoz, and then later that Saturday, Figueiredo will take on Joseph Benavidez for the second time for the flyweight championship of the world, with a co-main event of Jack Hermanson versus Kevin Gastelum making his return after losing to Darren Till. And speaking of Darren Till, a week after that, Robert Whittaker and Darren Till will be fighting a fight in the main event, and Shogun will be in the co-main event against Little Nog.
Yeah, what year?
As well as Fabricio Verdum versus Alexander Gustafsson, who's making his heavyweight debuts also on the Whittaker-Till card.
Tell me that's not the perfect first match for Alexander Gustafsson, like coming up and fighting Fabricio, because I was gonna say,
a guy out of his prime, a guy who he can knock out. He's got slick hands. He can wrestle his ass off too, man.
Yeah, and the thing is too, like if you're thinking about it, like him going up to heavyweight, who else do you want him to fight? I mean, Fabricio Verdum is a good name. He's a former champ at heavyweight, but he has looked like a shell of his former championship caliber self. So that should be a good matchup for him to at least go up, test himself against that weight, and I think that's a good matchup to introduce him to the heavyweight division and see where he's going.
Yeah, I think the only question about Gus is just whether or not he wants to fight. I think ever since he kind of lost to Jones the first time, it just seems like whether or not he's game for that scrap.
Yeah, for sure. Maybe he'll be remotivated. He's in a new division. He should be faster, I think, than a lot of those guys, because he was very athletic and fast in the light heavyweight division. So you go up to the big hitters, he should be faster than a lot of those guys. So it'll be interesting to see if he gets remotivated there. And then, man, I can't wait for Whittaker versus Darren Till. That one's gonna be fun.
Yeah, let's see what happens, man. I thought Till and Gaston was going to be fireworks, but Till, he's playing a little bit safer game since he got knocked out twice or he got finished twice in a row.
Yeah. He's still entertaining though. Like if you enjoy watching kickboxing, like just watching his technique, it's very clean, very crisp. And
he always has that knockout power. So you're kind of on on the edge of your seat watching him.
Yeah, for sure. So
he's very explosive.
Dang right. And then Sean, let's talk about the heavyweight title fight before we get out of here.
Yeah, so August 15th, a month after UFC 251. UFC 252, the only fight announced so far is Stipe Miocic and Daniel Cormier for the third time, going to settle the score for the heavyweight title. Both will probably retire after this, so we got to enjoy this one while it lasts.
Yeah, this is going to be perfect, and I would like to see both guys retire. I feel like both guys have done their due diligence. Well, at least Stipe's done his due diligence in this division, and Daniel Cormier's done his at the light heavyweight division, pretty much beating everybody that's not named John Jones. So that'd be interesting, I think, to see a double retiree and then open up that heavyweight title for Francis Ngannou, pretty much. But either way, it's going to be a fun fight. Who do you guys see coming out on top in this third and final fight?
I think DC.
I'm going with Stipe. I think similar to John Jones, he figured out that Daniel Cormier has a single, track mindset, and I think it's going to take him a round or two like it did last time, and they're just going to pick him off. I think it's just going to end that way. Stipe's going to win that fight.
Yeah, it'd be very interesting to see if Stipe goes right for the body shots, because if you remember, that's what put Daniel down. We talked about that a little bit before. Like Daniel seems to be soft in the body. Anderson Silva dropped him too in that fight with a nice clean body shot. So But the thing is, like, I think Daniel he looks so much crisper and faster in his boxing, and even in that second fight, he was tearing Stipe up.
I was gonna say in that second fight, he was tearing Stipe up until that fourth round, and he didn't even use his best weapon. He didn't even use the wrestling. So if he starts wrestling, it could be he's got to mix it in. If he mixes it in, I think he wins.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very interesting to think about. Like, he didn't really use his wrestling in the first two fights.
He used it in the first round of the second fight, and he controlled him, and then he didn't use it after that.
Yeah, I don't know.
I feel like he wanted to. I think he had something to prove with his hands. To be honest,
he was hitting Stipe so clean. I think he just fell in love with it.
Yeah.
I think he even said that too. He's like, I just fell in love with my hands because I kept hitting him, and I knocked him out the first time. So I felt like it was just a matter of time, and then he got me.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's why to me, I think this one's Daniel's to lose until we see, unless Stipe just comes out a whole other animal. I don't know, but that one's just gonna be fun, man. That's what makes the fight game fun. So, is there any other fight announcements that you guys wanted to address before we call it quits?
No, those are all the big ones.
I think a good one for you and some fight fans is the week before that on August 1st, they actually got the card booked and signed Derek Brunson against Edmund Shabazian. So I know that's exciting for us since we talked about it, I believe, last month, and it didn't actually come to fruition. So I'm excited to see that on the Holly Holm card. TBD on where they're going to be fighting, but that should probably be a pretty good card for those two fights headlining.
Yeah. And the only other one I'll mention as of note too, because I've been waiting for this guy to come back, is UFC Fight Night Cater vs. Ige. That one's on Wednesday, July 15th. So after the big card. So on that main card, it's going to be the second fight. It's Abdul Razak Al Hassan. I hope I said his middle name correctly, but
sounds good to me.
But dude, that guy is a fucking animal. He has 10 wins. They're all first round knockouts in the welterweight division. The last person he knocked out was Nico Price. Dude, he looks like a freaking animal. He hasn't fought since, so I'm extremely excited to watch him come back and see what he looks like. But
likewise.
Yeah. But otherwise, that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Any closing comments, boys?
Nope.
No, let's just kick it off this weekend.
All right, perfect. Yeah, everybody, thank you for joining in. Remember to download fanstreamsports.com, and that's where you can find all of our podcasts there as well. Remember to like us on all of our social media pages, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We thank you guys for listening as always, and we'll catch you on the flip side.